Everyone, and welcome to the Casual Dad Gamer channel. I'm Mike, and we're going to be doing something a little different today. Typically, I do not make commentary videos or anything like that, but I really wanted to talk about my feelings about Diablo 4, in particular Season 3, and why I won't be streaming Season 3 content. My takes on the current state of Diablo 4 and whatnot, we're going to go over a bit in a second. This is from the perspective of a casual player. I'm not a blaster. I don't do theory crafting or have a look into the meta of the game. I come from the perspective of I'm a parent and I have very limited time to play video games. The games I want to play, I want them to reward me for the time that I invest in them. The simple truth of the matter is I'm bored already playing Season 3 of Diablo 4. And I see no reason to continue more of the same grind that I've had in the previous seasons with currently dead seasonal mechanics. Just so you know, I gave it a fair shake. I think I played about 12 hours into it. I'm now level 58. I'm in World Tier 3. And I'm kind of getting to the point now where it's like hitting the end game. But there's really not much for me to do. I also just want to let you know that I'm not in the D4 bad or D4 good camps. I'm personally in my personal D4 fun camp. I want the game to be fun. I want it to be rewarding. I want to enjoy myself. But it's starting to feel like it's not going to be that way. And I think I'm starting to transition to a new camp, and that's called the D4 sad camp. Let me just explain a little bit. So I just want to talk a little bit about the history I have with the Diablo franchise. I've been playing Diablo since Diablo 1. When it came out, it was very new, very groundbreaking. I also grew up in a conservative Christian home, so that game was like the epitome of bad, and I felt like I was kind of like this nerdy, geeky, rebellious kid playing this game. Then Diablo 2 came out, which like really cemented the franchise, kind of created the whole AARPG and the standards put forth going forward. It was really a groundbreaking game. People still play the hell out of it. You know, the remake of it is really good. It's still pretty healthy, and people still play that a lot. And then Diablo 3 came out, and Diablo 3 wasn't as good as Diablo 2, in my opinion, but it was still a fun game to play, especially after the Reaper of Souls expansion came out. The best way I could describe Diablo 3 is kind of like Diablo arcade mode, where it's fast-paced, it's got excessively godly powers, and while the gameplay loop was definitely repetitive in terms of like what's offered these days, you could still play it way more than you can play the current Diablo game, up to the point where you're hitting 1,000+ Paragon points to like max out your character and stuff like that. I mean, people are still playing it and they're still going back to it, which I think that speaks to the quality of what D4 is now. So speaking of which, let's just fast forward. So when Diablo 4 was announced, I was super excited. There was super high hopes in the very beginning. Like artistically, Diablo 4 was very close, if not kind of grittier than Diablo 2. Going back to those roots was really cool. And then when actually playing the game, the leveling to 1 to 50 experience was really fun. And I still maintain that this is one of the more interesting stories of the Diablo franchise. I really, really liked it. Diablo 2 was great, but Diablo 4's story was really, really good. The gameplay mechanics are good, and they're smoother than most AARPGs. I think a lot of people agree with this. There's just something that is magical about the way Blizzard makes the Diablo series. It just flows well, if that makes sense. Like, the character animations, how quick and snappy the gameplay is. There's just something really special about it. So, after playing Diablo 4 for a while, then you start to realize, after that 1 to 50, you start hitting the real grind. You start to see that there's no endgame content, no like meaningful endgame content. The grinding was tedious, and leveling took way too long. Now, kind of fast forward after the release, since Season 1 up to this season, they made a lot of improvements. Stuff like the smoother leveling experience, it's faster, it feels like there's like less of like a wall you hit after level, I would say 7 and beyond. The class builds are slowly becoming more equal, which is opening up more ways to play the game and, really trying to find that build that you like. The stash tab increases. That's always nice. I mean, the stash tab thing has been kind of like a topic of conversation for a while now. And genuinely, a more fun seasonal gameplay mechanic, especially season 2. I really thought that season 2 kind of just like took it to the next level. And it's like, okay, if season 2 is kind of like the roadmap of where they're going, I can see hope. I can see how Diablo 4 can become a great game. However, now we're into season 3. So I've been, like I said, I've been playing, I would say about 12 hours, and I think I'm either 57 or 58. I don't even remember. I'm a necromancer, so I wanted to kind of just have like a fast, smooth leveling experience. I'm on world tier 3. I completed, the new seasonal storyline. I did that right away, and then I just kind of started hitting the dopamine tunnels and like leveling up and stuff like that. So here are my quick takes on it. The positives. I'm finding that the seasonal story, in my opinion, is actually one of the best ones yet. I really liked the writing of it. The voice actor who does, the main character you interact with, he's really good. And let's be honest, Zoltan Kuhl is probably one of the more fan favorite characters that Diablo 3 created. He's like the anti-hero that turned out to be the villain kind of thing. Just such a really cool story. And Zoltan Kuhl, the voice actor, it was really fun hearing him again in Diablo 4. Just kind of like that evil, gravelly voice. Man, that just took me back, and I really enjoyed it. So I really enjoyed the story. The new seasonal boss, I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything like that if you ever intend on playing it or whatever, but the seasonal boss is very different and plays fun. The mechanic of it's very fun. I'm sure you've seen the videos and stuff of it now, but yeah, I actually really enjoyed that boss. I think I enjoyed that boss more than any of the other bosses that came before, including, the latter bosses in Seasonal 2. And the concept of the Seneschal Construct pet is really cool. It kind of is bringing in like this watered down version of Path of Exile linking system into Diablo. Like I said, very watered down compared to Path of Exile, but the concept is very cool. However, let's kind of transition over to the things that I'm not so hot on. So the Seneschal Construct doesn't really seem to be making any noticeable impact, which is a shame because the concept is cool, but I honestly don't really feel like it's doing a whole lot to improve the gameplay that I was hoping it would. And I've seen a couple of other videos online, and they're all basically talking about the same thing. So that's the thing. The vaults aren't really fun. Like, I appreciate what they were trying to do with the whole puzzle mechanic, but you know what? You can actually bypass the majority of those puzzles and just go like straight to the end, and you don't have to really worry about it. So if you put on enough of the pearls, which is kind of like a buff, the Zoltan Kuhl's buff or whatever, to get you through, as long as you have just one left over, you can open up like the mega loot package at the end. And you can pretty much, like, if you just put on as many pearls as you want and get as many buff stacks as you want, you could basically just walk through the traps and really not have to worry about a whole lot. This may change in other variations of the vaults, or like the end game and stuff. I'll never get to that point, and I'll just mention that towards the end of this video. And on top of that, you don't really have to do the vaults, because you can go to the overworld, and there's like those events in the overworld that more or less get you the same exact things you would get from the vaults anyways. The loot drops probably aren't as much, but you're still doing the same thing. And then I've also been hearing, and I've seen it a little bit in my playtime, but then after, like, watching other people's playtime, stuff like that, apparently the grind to level up the stones that go inside your Seneschal pet is crazy. Each stone can get up to level 10, and getting to level 10 for each of those, like, apparently the grind is just, you have to sink a lot of time into it. And what's even crazier is that grind, those stones, and the progress of those stones do not carry over to alt characters. So you have to start this all over again. It kind of feels like they're forcing you to play the content to get more time out of it. And then let's just, the elephant in the room, they have not released the Gauntlet, which is what they were touting Season 3's biggest thing was, like the leaderboards and stuff like that. They haven't released it, and their reasoning for letting people kind of jump into the game and, experience it before releasing the Gauntlet doesn't seem to make much sense to me. If anything, it makes more sense to release in the beginning because there's more people playing the game and more excited about it. You can argue the point back and forth. That's just how I feel about it. So yeah, in summary, because of the negatives, it feels like the seasonal content just isn't worth playing beyond the story. And frankly, I'm not having as much fun as I did in season 2. That's just the end of it. I'm bored. And nothing is more boring than watching someone playing a game who looks bored playing the game. Like, who the hell wants to watch that? I don't. You know, like, if you just see someone with like a vacant face is like droning on trying to play a game, who wants to watch that? I mean, more or less that's just fodder for the background so that, you know, as you work you can like listen to something playing in the background or whatever. You know, if I'm already level 50, I'm not enjoying the new content because frankly, it's dead content. You don't really have to do it. And all I have to look forward to is the repetitive grind to level to 100. I'm just not enthused enough to waste my time, very limited time out of that, because again, I'm a parent. I have a full-time job. Streaming is not my full-time job. I wish it could be, but I just don't have that time on my hand. So really, that's why I'm D4 sad. I really, truly love this franchise. I have a lot of fun memories in the past playing these games, and I know that Blizzard is not the Blizzard that it was back then. I know. There was so much promise going into this game from the beginning, but it just feels like the D4 team isn't able to really implement good quality changes fast enough to keep up with the good state of the game, like make a good state of the game and retain the players to play the game. On top of that, you know, there's the 1,900 Activision Blizzard employees that just got fired or laid off. And I can't imagine, this is very short-sighted to me, but I can't imagine how that will affect the development of Diablo 4 going forward. But also on a side note, I really just wanted to wish those affected by the layoffs good luck in finding new endeavors, new jobs. It really sucks what's happening in the tech and game industry. Starting to 2024 like this is really hard. So it sucks you all lost your jobs. Your hard work all these years is really appreciated, and Godspeed to y'all. I really hope that you are able to recover and find something new. So anyways, let's kind of talk about like the playing field right now, or the battlefield, let's say, in terms of AARPGs. Let's start with Path of Exile. For crying out loud, Path of Exile is a 10-year-old game, and people are still playing the hell out of it. People are ditching D4 to play it because they're still making compelling content, and they're addressing changes way faster than Diablo team can. I understand that Grinding Gear Games is a smaller studio. You know, so there's less of a process to jump through. They've had 10 years to make this game the way it is now. But if you look back at the dev feedback to players and them listening over the years, you know, granted, no one's perfect. They've made mistakes, but I would say it was a pretty resounding success in terms of how they were implementing changes after listening to community feedback, you know, beta testing the hell out of things. And they're still able to keep and retain the core game that they made out to make. And it's still relevant and awesome by today's standards. And from the looks of things, Path of Exile 2 is shaping up to be an amazing game, which I'm sure the Diablo team has it on their radar, and I personally would think that they're very threatened by this. The Path of Exile team, or Grinding Gear Games, they've even said that they're going to be beta testing this for at least 6 months nonstop, probably longer. You're probably going to have like a 6 to 8 month long beta test period. The player feedback is going to be so crucial to making this game successful. And I guarantee you, if the Diablo 4 team had done that, the game that we would have today would be very different. And I would argue probably much better. But that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda scenario. We just don't know. And another player entering this battlefield of the AARPGs is Last Epoch. This game is still in early access. It's releasing in February, but man, guys, it manages to do something fresh and different with the ARPG genre, fusing like their own mechanics, which basically is like a blend between Diablo and Path of Exile. It kind of meets in the middle in terms of like complexity. The learning curve is much easier than Path of Exile. And guys, the crafting system is so addictive in Last Epoch. Like, they just nailed it in so many ways. I'm very excited for this game to be coming out in February. So that's going to be like a legit competitor to Diablo 4. So we got, you know, current Path of Exile, Last Epoch, and Path of Exile 2 beta coming. There's going to be some serious heavy hitting contenders in this field to play. So Anyways, I think you're kind of getting the gist of what I'm trying to say. I'm sad to see a beloved franchise of mine in this state, and I honestly don't know what needs to happen on the dev side of things to improve the game. But to be perfectly honest with you, that doesn't matter. It's not my job to fix it. It's your job to figure out how to make the game fun and playable. That's all I care about. In the end, I am a consumer buying a product to play for fun. And if it's not fun, I will not play it. And, I had a lot of hopes that Diablo 4 would be like, the replayability would just be like, years and years. But man, I'm starting to think that they're in a lot of trouble. And I feel like that my very limited time is going to be better spent in other things. Like I said, Last Epoch and Path of Exile 2. So here's kind of like my line in the sand. I'm going to give it to Season 4, where they're supposed to be doing a complete, revitalization of the itemization of the game. And if that content doesn't feel good, if I still have doubts that this game is going to continue and pick up and, do better years down the road, then I'm throwing in the towel. It really breaks my heart to say that. It does. Maybe I'll come back to it after a couple years if the game is even still relevant at that point and they've improved it to be what I'm hoping could be a really, really good game. And I'll see how I feel about it at that point. But anyways, that's just my hot take on this. I really appreciate you all listening. Please throw some comments in. Let me know how you feel about the state of the game and just tell me how you feel about it, And again, thanks everybody. Love you all. And please be good to each other and take care.